Commander just had the biggest bannings in its entire history. Mana Crypt, Jeweled Lotus, Dockside Extortionist, and Nadu Winged Wisdom all just got banned. This is the biggest shakeup we've seen in the format, and the community is currently dealing with it in different ways. Now, I've already discussed the reasons why these cards got banned and my initial thoughts on the bannings in a previous video, which I'll link below. But right now, I wanted to give my answer to a very interesting question that's floating around the internet that's even more important than any individual bannings. What's the point of a Commander ban list? Like seriously, this is a casual format. So why not just unban everything and let the almighty Rule 0 sort it out? If your playgroup doesn't like a particular card or group of cards, like MLD or extra turns, for example, just invoke Rule 0 and have everyone take those cards out of their decks. Don't like fast mana cards like Mana Crypt? Then just house ban Mana Crypt. Why ban it and ruin the fun for everyone else who doesn't agree with you and enjoys playing with the cards? And I actually agree with the logic of this argument to an extent. I think in casual Commander, the vast majority of regular playgroups don't actually need a ban list. Like for my regular playgroups, we all know what type of cards we don't like playing against. Usually it's common stuff like MLD or extra turns, or oppressive stacks pieces like Humility, and we adjust our decks accordingly. And we figured that out through discussions or trial and error. Like we play a card or commander that doesn't match the vibe of our group, and we just take it out afterwards. So when I sit down to play a game with my regular playgroups, the pregame conversation is just like, what decks does everybody feel like playing? And then once somebody selects a deck, the rest of us match power levels with other decks, and we just get to gaming immediately. The pregame conversation is like 10 seconds maximum. Like someone might say they have a brand new janky deck they feel like trying out, so I'm going to reach out for my lower power Zedru deck and we just start gaming. And I'm assuming if you also have a regular playgroup, that's the same experience too. Now, if the ban list was abolished tomorrow, my regular playgroups would continue playing the same decks as if nothing happened. Like for one of my regular playgroups, Commander Clash, which we play weekly on this channel, we have our own house ban already. So if everything got unbanned, that wouldn't change anything. We also play with banned cards occasionally, like when I got permission to play Lutri in my Otters deck. So the ban list really is just a guideline for us, because we don't need a ban list to tell us how to have fun. We figured that out for ourselves. And that should be the case for most regular playgroups as well. But the problem is that Rule 0 isn't always effective, and where it's weakest is not with regular playgroups, but rather with new players entering the game, and also with pickup games, such as at Commander Nights, or conventions, or online play like Spell Table, for example. And the reason is that everyone's expectation of what a Commander game should look like is going to be different. Everybody has different expectations of what cards are good and not good in casual Commander, and everybody assumes that their deck is obviously about a 7, right? It's only after playing with the same group of people numerous times that you kind of align everybody's expectations together. And you probably find out that somebody's 7 is actually more like a 9, and somebody else's 7 is probably like a 4. You know, some decks are better than others. So in my opinion, that's where the ban list should be used. It's literally just there in situations where Rule 0 isn't working. It's helping make sure that the expectations of new players and pickup games are met. So when someone signs up for a pre-con level game, or even a mid-power one, nobody slams down a turn 2 Jeweled Lotus to ramp out Voja, Jaws of the Conclave, and then proceeds to crush the table since they popped off way faster than the table could handle it. Like, there's a huge difference between a turn 2 Voja and a turn 5 one. Like, even a table full of precons can muster up an answer by turn 5. But there's very little you can do when the Ward 3 card drawing, face smashing good boy shows up on turn 2, right? So when people dismiss these type of complaints and just say, oh, just run more removal, it's like, buddy, my Swords to Plowshares cost 4 mana. And then after stomping the table, the Voja player will say something like, oops, sorry, that never happened before. How bizarre that I could win so quickly. How amusing. Sorry, I've been watching way too much Jenny Nicholson. And like, yeah, that's not a great experience for pickup games. Something like that can easily be solved in a regular playgroup by telling the Voja player, hey, take out the fast mana so that we can play mid-power decks. But in pickup games, you just don't have that luxury. So it makes sense to have some sort of safety net in pickup games where Rule 0 isn't working properly, and that's the ban list. And I know some of you might be saying now, Tomer, nobody actually runs Jeweled Lotus in mid-power games, right? And sadly, I have to say that, yeah, I have seen it alongside Dockside and Crypt at Commander Nights at my local game store far more than I'd like. And the justifications are usually stuff like, well, I pulled this card from my pack, obviously I'm going to be using it, or my deck needs these cards or else it just can't function, which is, I mean, brewing issue, by the way, or get good scrub, Okay, not that one. But the result is always the same. These cards are a net negative for casual games when you're not ready for it. At high power tables or CDH, where Rule 0 is very effective because everybody kind of already knows going in what to expect, these cards are all fine. At these tables, literally all of the ban list can be unbanned and it would be totally fine. Yes, even Shahrazad. If people signed up for it, then by all means, go full Inception with your Commander games. So when deciding what to ban, the only ones I aim at are the ones that are seeing play in pickup games where they're clearly inappropriate and Rule 0 is not keeping them at bay. People say, oh, why don't you ban Winter Orb too? Like, obviously it's a salty card, right? Well, you don't need to ban something like Winter Orb if nobody actually plays Winter Orb. It's a waste of a ban slot. If Winter Orb suddenly saw tons of play in pickup games, then yeah, ban it. But it's not, so it won't be. Things like Hull Breacher was popular. Paradox Engine was popular. And yes, Mana Crypt was too popular as well. They make sense to be banned in situations where Rule 0 isn't effective in keeping them out of where they're supposed to be. So when people say that XYZ card is fine in high power CDH games, so they should be unbanned and Rule 0'd out of lower power games or pickup games, I totally disagree. Rule 0 is most effective in high power and CDH tables, so you should house rule unbanning those cards in your playgroup if you want to play with them. Rule 0 is least effective in lower power pickup games, so that's where cards need to be banned if they don't belong there and Rule 0 isn't keeping them out. That said, bans are never going to be a flawless situation. Bans inevitably get people upset for one thing, maybe not Nadu, nobody likes Nadu, and they can cause significant financial loss for people if the card was expensive and got banned. Also, it gets hazy on where to draw the line on bans. How many fast mana cards should we ban? Is Ancient Tomb okay? Is it not fast mana? What about some of the weaker Moxen? Why does Sol Ring, the most popular fast mana card by far that should be banned by the RC's own admission, be given ban immunity? Could we even ban Sol Ring if we wanted to? Like, what happens to all those precons with Sol Ring in them? Ban discussions get messy. But for now at least, I think it's the best solution that we've got. I personally think that the current ban list needs a complete overhaul, and there's a lot of cards I would love to see unbanned that have been just stuck in limbo there for like over a decade at this point. But I do mostly agree with the Rules Committee's current ban list philosophy. You gotta focus the bans where Rule 0 isn't working, and that's not at regular playgroups, it's not at high power tables, not CEDH, but rather casual pickup games. And the RC knows that. I wish they banned Jeweled Lotus and Dockside Extortionist the moment they were previewed so nobody wasted money on them. It's not like it was a surprise these cards were horribly overpowered to be chase cards. And Mana Crypt should never have been legal in the format in the first place. It sucks that they took so long to actually get rid of them after so many people opened and bought copies of them. But despite that, I'm still very happy that they're finally banned. And I do believe that the format is much healthier without them. And hopefully it sends a signal to Wizards of the Coast not to print another Jeweled Lotus into the format. And if your regular playgroup wants to keep playing with these cards, then use Rule 0 to continue playing with them. That's the whole point of Rule 0, and that's where it's most effective. But what do you think about the ban list? Let me know in the comment section below. Keep it civil though, and until next time, friends, see ya!